nice for you, obviously, is kind of doing this for the first time? Is it a little different, kind of reaching out to?
Yeah. I mean, when we do clinics, everybody's involved, so you try to interact with everybody as much as possible, but yeah, it's been good. It's always tough this time of year when you have practice and everything back to back, but that's part of the deal. Yeah.
Is there a recruiting element to that? Forming some relationships with guys that can help in that regard?
I think anytime you're interacting with people, I mean, you treat them the right way, treat them well, and that at some level pays off down the road. Sure.
What are you looking for out of your two redshirt freshman quarterbacks this spring?
Improvement, which we've done a good job of. All those guys. The hardest thing at quarterback in spring ball is there's going to be times where everybody else is wrong, and you still have to play at your speed. You still have to play at game speed, execution speed, and make the right decision. And that's so hard when you have a guy, the protection's wrong. The route might be dirty, and you need to make the right decision at the right time, and that's what you kind of can build some fortitude that way as well. And those guys have done that. They're doing a great job of being vocal coaches and just lining guys up and helping them out. So that'll pay off for both those guys. Sometimes you don't realize it at this point in the game, but that pays off down the road.
Elliot, you talked so much last year about Mike Blake being the glue guy and not always knowing where he needed to be, but where everyone else needed to be too. Do you get a sense of who that could be on the defense this year?
Well, yeah, I mean, a bunch of guys have stepped up in that regard. Tony Washington is a guy that's been a lot more vocal than he has in the past. Ifo has been a tremendous leader. Avery Patterson and Eric Dargan have both guys that popped into my mind when you were verbalizing that, and so yeah, those guys are doing a good job of pushing the tempo, coaching up everybody else. Just the things that need to be reinforced.
I think you talked about it a little bit yesterday, but where is Avery at in his comeback? Do you feel like does it seem like he's going to be ready to go come first game?
I would have no evidence to the contrary. Yeah.
Your two offensive tackles, Fisher and Johnstone, how much of a luxury do they provide? A year after they were kind of a question mark probably going into the season, how much of a luxury are they at this point? I mean, how established are they, if at all, in your mind?
Those guys both have a chance to be, great players, and it's just kind of that switch. Jake's played a little bit more at this level, and so he might have an extra stitch of confidence. But Tyler's a pretty confident guy, and they both just need to believe it and finish. They'll have a guy, whether it's in protection or in the run game, almost finished and just kind of relax, and that kind of good to great step is right there. And the neat part about it for us is they know that, they can see it. They're smart guys. They're conscientious teammates, and they want to be great.
How much of these practices is teaching versus competition?
Oh boy, I would say 100% on both counts. You're teaching off of everything, and the coaches, right after this, we'll go back and we'll watch the tape of practice and formulate a lesson plan, so to speak, in the meetings, and you can learn from good, you can learn from the stuff you need to improve upon, and then we try to compete at everything. We try to compete at getting dressed right. We try to compete in everything we do, and our guys are doing a really good job of that right now. Today was a very balanced day. Offensively, they got the better of them a few times. Defensively, they got the better of them a few times, and so that's been good.
You doing any scrimmages or competition days this month?
Yeah, we had a couple live situations today that were good, and we'll sporadically place those in. We're going to have a couple competition days coming up, and at least one certainly truly dedicated scrimmage. It's how we practice. We really like how we get things situationally done rather than, hey, everybody, we're scrimmaging today. You can kind of get a little bit more work. In a scrimmage, you never know how things are going to turn out, which is good and bad in some regards. But we're going to work, this fast of the game, whatever that is, second and long and third medium, and you can really pinpoint those things. But the unknown, the part of a scrimmage, is good for everybody too.
What scenarios did you go live in?
With a couple third downs.
How'd you feel like guys handled them?
Really well. Really well. That's the part where we're just trying to just kind of jumpstart practice, and I was actually not going to do them told a couple coaches right before, blew the whistle and brought him up and made it live, and it was a really, really good active response.
Marcus's voice was pretty hoarse beginning of the week. Has he been vocal, continue to be vocal? Is that something you'd want to see more out of
Definitely.
him?
That's something just by his nature. He's not going to go out and give a, rousing cheerleading pep talk, and that's fine. We like him pretty much the way he is. But that next step of leadership, of really commanding. Marcus is such a humble guy, and he, such a great person that to tell an elder almost what to do, it's like, I can't do that. And if he needs to line up the senior, he should line up the senior, and he's done a good job of that.
Is it easy to forget he's still a teenager because he's so mature?
Well, that's why you just never put expectations on guys, is because either way, you just keep pushing and chopping away at things and pushing their development mentally, physically, all that stuff, and never stop.
It seemed like going into last year, at least outside of the Oregon circle, going into the season, guys like Ifo and T-Mitch were still a bit unproven, especially after that USC game a couple of years ago. Obviously, it seems like this year they'll have more of a target on their backs based on the year that they had last year. What have you noticed from them early on, and just their confidence level based off of the momentum from last year?
Yeah, somebody asked me a similar question yesterday. I think those guys are playing with a ton of confidence. I think somebody asked, is there pressure to duplicate, or pressure to make up for something else? I think there's confidence in getting better, and confidence in making the next step, of always being in the right place at the right time, always having the correct leverage or skill or fit within the coverage, and those guys have been outstanding so far in spring. Ifo's been a tremendous leader and obviously a really good player.